The silence of the African savanna was broken by the sudden scream of brakes and the violent scrape of rubber against asphalt. A safari vehicle jerked to a stop, dust swirling around its tires. On the roadside, a lion cub lay still, a tiny golden form against the dark ribbon of the road. From the tall grass, the lioness exploded forward. Her movements were frantic, her amber eyes burning with fear. She reached the cub and nudged him desperately with her nose. No response. A low, haunting cry rolled from her chest. Not a roar of anger, but the sound of a mother confronting the unthinkable. She circled the cub, pacing, trembling, torn between panic and disbelief. If this lioness's anguish moves you, stay with us, because the next few minutes would decide everything. Inside the stalled safari vehicle, no one spoke. The engine ticked softly. Dust floated through the sunlight like suspended time. Daniel's hands were still locked around the steering wheel. His pulse thundered in his ears. I didn't even see him. Just meters ahead, the lioness stood over her cub, not charging, not retreating, watching. Her amber eyes were fixed on the vehicle, not with rage, but with something far more unsettling. Expectation. Daniel swallowed hard. Every instinct screamed at him to stay inside. A lioness at this distance was not a warning. It was a verdict. But then, the cub's tail twitched. So slight it could have been imagination. So fragile it almost didn't exist. Daniel froze. Did you see that? No one answered. No one breathed. The lioness lowered her head instantly, nudging the cub again, more urgently now. A soft, broken sound rumbled from her chest. Hope. Fighting fear. Daniel's heart began to race for a different reason. Alive. Without thinking, he reached for the radio. This is Unit 7. We have a cub down. Repeat, a cub down. Static. Then a voice. Ranger inbound. Hold position. Ahead, the lioness looked up once more, and this time, she stepped back. The savanna held its breath. A distant engine cut through the silence, growing louder with every second. A ranger vehicle. Daniel didn't move. The passengers didn't dare whisper. Ahead, the lioness heard it too. Her head snapped up, muscles tightened beneath golden skin. For a moment, the fragile thread of calm began to unravel. Then the ranger stepped out, slow, measured, unarmed. He didn't run, didn't shout. He lowered himself slightly, turning his body sideways. Smaller, less threatening. A language older than words. The lioness stared. Daniel's chest burned with held breath. One wrong move, and the savanna would explode. The ranger spoke softly, his voice barely rising above the wind. It's okay, girl. Easy. The lioness growled, low, uncertain, vibrating with warning. But she didn't charge. She looked back at her cub, still weak, still fighting. The ranger took another step. Dust shifted beneath his boots. Closer now. Daniel's pulse pounded. Closer. The lioness's tail lashed once. Sharp, tense, closer. And then she moved aside. Not surrender, not fear, but something far rarer. Permission. The ranger dropped instantly to his knees beside the cub. Time collapsed. Hands steady. Movements precise. A life balanced on seconds. Behind him, the lioness watched, silent, unblinking, guarding, waiting, because what happened next would decide everything. If your heart is racing right now, if you believe every life in the wild matters, take 1 second, like this video, subscribe to the channel, because these stories are not just watched, they are remembered, they are shared, they help protect the voiceless. The cub's body was limp beneath the ranger's hands, too still, too quiet. The ranger leaned closer, eyes scanning, mind racing. A shallow breath? No, nothing. Behind him, the lioness shifted her weight. A low rumble rolled from her chest. Not aggression, but dread. Daniel's fingers dug into the seat. No one blinked. The ranger acted. 2 fingers pressed gently against the cub's tiny chest. Rhythm, steady, controlled. Again. Dust clung to his skin. Sweat traced silent lines down his temple. Again. The cub did not move. The lioness stepped forward. Daniel's heart stopped. 1 step. The ranger did not pull away. He kept the rhythm. Another compression. Another breath. Time stretched into something unbearable. Then, a faint, broken gasp, so soft it barely disturbed the air. The ranger froze. Daniel's eyes widened. The lioness stiffened. Another gasp. The cub's ribs trembled. A fragile flicker of life fighting its way back. The ranger resumed instantly, careful, precise, and suddenly, the cub's paw twitched. Daniel exhaled violently. Inside the vehicle, someone whispered, "Oh my God!" But the ranger knew better. Not yet, because survival is never won in a single breath. The cub's tiny chest trembled once, then fell still again. Daniel's hope collapsed as quickly as it had risen. "No, no, stay with us." The ranger leaned closer, refusing to surrender the moment. Another compression, another breath. The lioness stood frozen, eyes locked onto her cub, every muscle rigid, every instinct screaming. The ranger counted silently, seconds slipping like sand through trembling fingers. Then, a sudden, sharp inhale. The cub's body jerked, dust scattered beneath his whiskers. Daniel's breath caught in his throat. Again, a stronger gasp. The cub's mouth opened slightly. Air, real air. The ranger stopped, watching, waiting. The cub's ribs rose, fell, rose again, alive. Behind him, the lioness released a sound so deep, so raw, it didn't resemble a roar. It was relief. She rushed forward, not with violence, but urgency. She lowered her head, nudging the cub, almost disbelieving. The cub answered with the faintest movement. A blink, a breath, a miracle written in dust and sunlight. And in that moment, no one inside the vehicle remained untouched. The cub's breathing was shallow, but steady. A fragile rhythm, a victory measured in whispers of air. The ranger slowly withdrew his hands, every movement deliberate, respectful, because now, this moment belonged to her. The lioness stepped forward, no hesitation left in her stride. She lowered her massive head, eyes searching, scanning every inch of her cub as if trying to erase the memory of fear. A soft rumble vibrated from her chest, not dominance, not warning, but something infinitely more powerful. Relief. She nudged the cub gently, once, twice, and then, with a tenderness that defied her strength, she gathered him into her forelegs. The cub responded with the faintest movement, pressing weakly into the safety of his mother's body. Alive, protected, home. Inside the vehicle, silence gave way to emotion. Daniel wiped his eyes, not even aware he was crying. No one laughed, no one spoke, because everyone understood. They had just witnessed something rare, not a rescue, but a reunion with life itself. The ranger stepped back slowly, never turning his back on the lioness, yet no fear remained in his posture, only quiet reverence. The lioness looked at him, long, unblinking, and in that gaze lived something impossible to measure, recognition, perhaps even gratitude. Then, without drama, without spectacle, she turned. The cub held close against her chest. Step by step, she walked back toward the tall grass, toward the wild, toward the world that almost lost him. The savannah exhaled, but the meaning of what had happened lingered. Roads cut through ancient lands, machines move faster than instinct, and yet, compassion still has the power to interrupt tragedy, to rewrite endings, to return a heartbeat to the world. Because, in the end, this was never just about a lion. It was about the thin line between loss and hope, and the humans who chose to care. If this moment moved you, if you felt that breath return, Don't just watch and scroll away. Be part of the people who care. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, share this story, because every action you take keeps these stories alive and reminds the world that compassion still matters.